Alright guys, today we're going to talk about fractions on a number line. You can go ahead and add this topic to your table of contents, and you can go ahead and add the date in on your table of contents. Remember, at any point in the video, if you need to pause it to finish taking the notes and then keep watching, that is okay. If you need to rewind it to get your notes, that's fine too. So we're going to talk about fractions on a number line. A couple of things that we know about fractions. We know that fractions are part of a whole. We know that fractions are between two whole numbers. An example of this, if we look at the fraction 3/4, and we're thinking about a number line to put this fraction on. If over here we start with the whole number or the number 0, and we go over here and this is the number 1. We know naturally when we count 0, 1, 2, 3. We typically count by whole numbers. But in between these two whole numbers lie fractions. So in this whole section right here, there are fractions. If we were counting by fourths, we would say 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 would go here, and then 1 whole, because 1 whole is the same thing as 4/4. Okay, so if we were trying to figure out which whole number 3/4 was closer to, it is definitely closer to 1 whole on the number line. Okay, let's do another example together. If I have the fraction 7/8, remember my 8 or my denominator tells me the denominator for all the numbers or all the fractions that are going to follow my number line. The 7 tells me how far along on the number line I'm going to be. So again, I start at 0, extend it out, and I end at 1, because 7/8 isn't quite 1 whole just yet. It is somewhere between 0 and 1. So first would be 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, whoops, not 6, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 1 whole would be the same thing as 8/8. So again, if I'm thinking, what is 7/8 closest to? It is closest to 1 whole. Okay. I'm going to give you guys an example, and I want you to pause the video and try to create your own number line. I will keep going and showing you the number line, so you're going to have to pause it once you see me put the fraction here, and then double check your work and play the video once you try to set up your number line. Okay, so let's go with the fraction 2/5. So again, I want you to pause the video and try to create a number line for 2/5. So we see that 0, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and then we end at 5/5 or 1 whole. Okay, again, 2/5 is between 0 and 1, and if we're looking at 2/5, which is it closest to, it would actually be closer to that 0 mark. Okay. Alright, now let's take a look at some mixed numbers, because those can be a little tricky. Remember, mixed numbers have fractions and whole numbers with them. So if I have the mixed number 3 wholes, and 1/4. I've got to think to myself, what 2 whole numbers is 3 and 1/4 between? Okay, I know that 3 and 1/4, it at least has 3 in it because 3 is my whole number, but it's not quite 4 wholes yet. It's a few fourths away from being 4 wholes. So if I look at my number line, I start at, I'm not going to actually start at 0 this time. If I start at 3, continue down, and I end at 4, 3 and 1/4 is between these 2 whole numbers. So 3 wholes would be here, and this is essentially 3 wholes and 0/4. Next would be 3 wholes and 1/4. Next would be 3 wholes and 2/4. Next would be 3 wholes and 3/4. And 4 wholes is the same thing as 3 wholes and 4/4, because this 4/4 makes an additional whole that we would add to the 3 and then get our 4. So what whole number is 3 and 1/4 closest to? Well, it's closest to 3 wholes. Okay. Let's try another one of those. If I have 6 wholes and 5/6, I know that it's greater than 6 because I already have a 6 here and I have a little bit of a fraction. But it is a little less than 7, because if I'm counting just by whole numbers, what comes after 6? 7. So when I draw my number line, if I put a 6 here and a 7 here, it's showing me that this fraction is in between the whole number 6 and the whole number 7. So this is essentially 6 and 0/6, because there's no fraction here with that 6. So the next one is 6 and 1/6, 6 and 2/6, 6 and 3/6, 6 and 4/6, 6 and 5/6, and 7 wholes is the same thing as 6 and 6/6, because this fraction right here makes another whole, which I could add to the 6 to get 7. So if I'm thinking about what whole number is 6 and 5/6 closest to, it is closest to 7. Okay. I'm going to give you another example that I want you to try with mixed numbers, so you'll need to pause the video once I put up the mixed number and try to make your own number line. Then check over your work and correct any mistakes once you play the video to see what I've done. So let's look at the mixed number 1 and 2/7. 1 whole and 2/7. So again, pause the video. Try to make your own number line. When you're done, play the video and see what I've worked out. Got to figure out what whole numbers this particular mixed number is in between. It already has 1, so it's greater than 1 because it has a fraction tagged along with it. But it's less than the very next whole number after 1, which is 2. So I would put a 1 here, a 2 here. So this is like 1 whole and 0/7. Next would be 1 whole and 1/7, 1 whole 2/7, 1 whole 3/7, 1 whole 4/7, 1 whole 5/7, 1 whole 6/7, and then 2 would be the same thing as 1 whole 7/7, because this 7/7 makes another whole that I add to the 1 in order to get 2. Okay. If you notice, when I'm putting mixed numbers on a number line, the number line typically begins with whatever my whole number is, and it ends with whatever the next whole number would be if I was counting just by whole numbers. Okay, so the number line, if you're trying to figure out what 2 whole numbers your mixed number is in between, it starts with the whole number and it ends with the next whole number that you would count to, starting with that whole number as your beginning. Okay? We will be using these benchmarks, and we will be using these mixed numbers and where they belong on the number line in order to help us decide if our answers are reasonable when we're adding and subtracting fractions. So if I look at 1 2/7, it's really close to 1 whole. So if thinking about reasonable answers, if my answer to a problem was 1 2/7, and I was looking at my answer to see if it's actually accurate, if when I do my equation, I could look at my number line to see where it falls to determine, hey, did I do that problem right, or did I make a mistake somewhere along the line? Okay? And I wanted you to make sure you get these notes in your notebook. I'm going to end with some problems for you to practice and show me tomorrow along with your notes. Okay, I'm going to end with 4 practice problems that I want you to put on the number line. So you're going to take these 4 problems, you're going to try to figure out the number line for them, and you'll show it to me along with your notes tomorrow. And for some of you, I'll give you a bonus. See if you can put the answer to this equation on a number line. So you're putting the answer on a number line. All right, I look forward to seeing your notes and your work tomorrow.